Hello and welcome to MPG overview video in which we'll go over what MPG is and what it does, and then we're going to play around a little bit. So first of all, what is MPG? MPG, it is a WordPress plugin for dynamic generation of pages. And the keyword here is dynamic. So what does that mean is, you see, unlike other plugins out there, MPG doesn't actually create records in your database. Instead, it only works with a template page and your source file. It could be your spreadsheet or a template. So let's imagine 10,000 pages that you need to generate for whatever purpose it is. Let's say you've got 10,000 locations and you want to generate 10,000 pages or 10,000 service areas. So traditionally, what marketing professionals would used to do, or WordPress site owners, they would use some sort of plugin out there, which would actually replicate a bunch of pages, 10,000 pages or so, and in this case, and they would actually be duplicates of each other and stored in your database, taking space in that database and making it very slow. It would definitely slow down the database, but the worst thing, it would actually not just slow down the website, but it would make it very hard to edit and to operate. And this is kind of how we got into it. We had a need to generate a lot of pages. And when we had all those pages out there, even when we went to the pages section of the WordPress, it would be so slow. It would take forever to load. And the worst part came when it was the need to edit these pages. So we would need to export these pages to a spreadsheet and make changes in the spreadsheet. Obviously, that's not a feasible way to do it. If you are trying to get pages and then generate it in bulk, you need a more effective way to do so, and that's what MPG is here for. So the way, as I said, the way MPG actually works is it uses a template page and just replaces the shortcodes from your spreadsheet source file. This makes the plugin and WordPress installation ultra light, doesn't load up your WordPress site, and makes editing a snap. And on top of all, you can create filtered lists of your generated pages, create a sitemap, and create dynamic texts using spintax. So let's play around. We're gonna use let's use a spreadsheet, a template here for the sake of speed. I'm gonna use US cities and set that up. So all I need to do is click on it, and it will import the entire page as well as a project options and so forth. So if you do have your own spreadsheet and you want to create and you want to start from scratch, that's okay. You can do that. And if you start from scratch, or even if you start from an existing project, you can update the source file. So the first thing is, in the templates section, you give your project a name. You set up the entity, so it could generate posts, it could generate pages for any custom entities that you have in your WordPress instance. Third-party plugins, they generate a bunch of different entities. WooCommerce, for example, generates I think almost a dozen of its own entities, like a customer, category, and vendor, and order, and product, and this and that. So it can actually generate those too. So template, I imported just now a template, so it used the standard page that it created. So we'll edit it later, but I can always add a new page and generate that as well. I do highly recommend to add that template to the robots.txt because we want to exclude this template itself from being indexed. And but it doesn't mean that the generated pages will be excluded from the index. So just the template itself. It's going to have shortcode data, so we don't want search engines to index it and show it up in search results. So the next thing is, once you save the first portion, the source will appear. Usually if you start from scratch, once again, if you use a template, everything is already preloaded for you. The file, you can load either a file, direct file in the like a Google spreadsheet, or you could load, it could be a CSV file or Excel file if it's somewhere on your remote host. You can set it up to be imported on a regular basis. If you update that spreadsheet quite a lot, it can generate the pages from the from your Google Sheets, for example, or CSV. If it keeps updating, and it will keep changing it and generate additional pages, which is really convenient. For example, if you have let's say you're trying to generate a page for each customer or each partner or each employee, instead of you going and manually having to just change, update the spreadsheet in MPG, you can just create a page in from a Dynamics data source, the one that you can keep updating. And then every time you update it, if you, let's say, set it up to update hourly, you'll update it once an hour and create new pages once an hour if there's any updates. So you can upload a file. That's what we did in this case. It's just a CSV file that's loaded in the system. That's how it looks like. This is the first 5 rows and a few columns that fit in here. But if you want to see the whole file that got processed, you can click view, and then there's quite a few things in this data file. There's 37,000 records in there. So for each city in the United States, that gives us 37,843 pages. And all of these are actually headers in my CSV file or Excel file that got loaded. MPG underscore got added to each of the headers or columns, so to say. So that became, each column essentially becomes your shortcode to insert into your template page, which will replace the data accordingly. So now we need a format of generating a URL. In this case, by default, it's set it up as city-state. I'm going to play around, and let's say I want to change it to, let's change it to a state name and city name. And then I'm going to add slash in between. So it's going to be Washington, Prairie Ridge, Washington State slash city name. So a Prairie dash Ridge in this case. So I'm going to save that, and it's going to make it clickable. There we go. Now I'm going to open it up in a new page, in the new tab, that is. Here we go. So that's just a sample of the pages, but we got 37,000 of them generated. So I can replace Edison instead of Prairie Ridge and see what's going to happen. So Prairie Ridge has a lot to offer, so it loads a page and replaces the short codes on this page. So I'll show you a source code in a second, so it makes sense to you. But I'm going to replace this with Edison, for example. And there we go. Edison has a lot to offer. So and some image gets generated in there as well. So there's the basics of it. Let's edit the page and see how it looks like. So that's our typical title. And then there's a city name, has a lot to offer, and so forth. So then we have some URL that gets generated and a random image that gets pulled with the MPG city added onto it. So it loads a unique image there every time. And then we got, let's see, what, just another URL, I believe. So now we can use spintax in this case to make this unique text as well. I will show it to you how to do it in a second, but I really don't like that this title is generic. And I'm gonna add, let's say, not explore US tourist destinations. So I'm gonna say explore MPG city. And update that. And then we can go back to it and see, refresh, explore Edison. There we go. So it gives it the unique title, explore Edison, right there in the header. So, and if you use any SEO plugins like Yoast SEO all-in-one or other SEO plugins, are all compatible with MPG, so which allows you to edit metadata and meta description, so which will also load the shortcodes. All right, so going back to the template, the project, I'm sorry. So what else we got in here packed under the hood? So the first things first, we can generate different lists based on the filter or without the filter. For example, if you just want to generate all of the pages in this project, you can do something like this. We're gonna say, so I didn't add any filters yet, so we want MPG city, and the URL will be, oh, well, it already pre-generated for me, so that's the URL. So I'm gonna say I want MPG city, and then preview. So this is what it does. It generates it generates a list of all of the generated pages, just like that. So let's see if, so now I want to filter this to have a county name to be Cuyahoga County. County name, Cuyahoga County. Do a preview. We need state ID. We need city here, MPG city. So we're gonna list all the cities with the URL in the Cuyahoga County, Ohio. That's where we are based out of, and there we have it. So that helps me create a bunch of links, and which will obviously improve the SEO of these pages and indexability. We want as many links to our pages as possible, as close to the homepage as possible, to have the utmost effect. If Google sees that we place that we link to these pages relatively close within the homepage, it will consider that these pages are important for the users, and will actually rank them and index them. So there's the generate list. There's we're gonna have a whole other video for just for this as well, because there's just so much that's possible, and we're not gonna go too much into it now. But yeah, you can generate lists within lists. For example, you can generate all countries, and inside of countries you can generate lists of all the states and provinces, and inside of each of those you can generate cities, and inside of those you can generate airports, and or so forth. You know, there's many different ways you can use it. You can categorize part numbers, you can categorize employees based on whatever it is you want, and have a nest pages and projects just like that. We'll have a whole other video for this. Now we're gonna go under sitemap, and then we can generate a sitemap. This is going to be a really large sitemap. It is, so the sitemaps are just for MPG. You can load it into the Google Search Console, and it will be, you know, this is where you will manage all of your MPG pages just through that separate. You cannot combine them, and there's no need to. You cannot combine your main website sitemap and MPG generated sitemap, and they just work entirely different. So, and it's actually okay, because Google Search Console allows you to load, you know, on a large number of sitemaps. There is no limit, really. So, in this case, we just generated 38,000 pages. So if it's quite a lot, that makes your sitemap quite heavy. And for whatever reason you want to make it smaller, you can change the amount of URLs per sitemap to, let's say, 1,000. So it automatically will generate a sitemap index and will nest out all the individual sitemaps under the main index sitemap. So that's pretty much it with the sitemaps. It's pretty straightforward, and it just works. Spintax allows you generation of dynamic text. So in this case, we're essentially randomly picking a few words out of and generating a sentence like this. So we're going to spin it up, and the quick silver dog got generated, one fast brown dog, and so forth. And we can copy this expression and build it into our template. These going to get cached, so it remembers whatever it generated. So the next time page is reloaded, the same text is still in there. So, but in case you want to flush it, you can flush it under here. So I'm just gonna copy this example into the template just to show you. So MPG City has a lot to offer, all types of travel from anywhere in the world. And then we can say this, we're gonna put this short code, really appreciates the effort. So, and then I'm gonna say A, B, 1 with capitalize it. There we go, update it. So, a fast silver dog really appreciates the effort. So now if I refresh this, it's still gonna be there as a fast silver dog really appreciates the effort. So if I go back, it will show me that it remembered one expression under spintax. Yep. And if I take this one, so we got a fast silver dog once again in here. If I go to Prairie Ridge again, not Edison, this will have one fast brown dog. So there you go. And now it will have 2 expressions remembered. So we need to refresh this. And there we go, 2. So I can flush it and it will generate a new sequence. There we go. So this was one fast brown dog. Now it's one quick brown fox, as you see. So there it is. This is the basis of the very basic of MPG and what it does. And we're going to have many more tutorials and videos on what it does and what it can do. It's hard to cover even in several hours video of the kind of projects we've done with MPG, and it gets pretty intense. It is so powerful. And if you see just from the glance of this video of what it can do for you, you can imagine just it can generate images, it can generate maps, and we have clients who've generated a dozen thousand pages. One of them is a 150,000 page website, and most of them rank there because they're niche as well. So all these niche pages, they're almost all of them rank #1 result on Google, and it's the amount of traffic they get is just ridiculous. Yes, it is niche, so you're not gonna you're not gonna be able to rank for a carpenter in New York City right away, or maybe ever, unless you put additional SEO effort. But just from generating these niche pages, you are able to quickly rank for the keywords that you're targeting, because who else is going to create for each part number or each partner or each employee or each location or each city, the niche terms and the description that your website will have. So good luck and have fun. Let us know if you have any issues. We do have support right in the plugin right here. If you are a pro user, and if you're not, feel free to reach out through the email and support by clicking contact us right there, and we should be able to help. Thanks so much.